Okay, well, hi everyone, and thank you very much for watching or listening. Liam Hartery here today with another episode of the Simply Inspired podcast, and this is my third episode from my new home in beautiful Cyprus. And it's very fitting because today I'm truly honored to be joined by a very, very special guest, Cyprus's strongest man, professional strongman, Ilya khazov. Hopefully, I'm saying that the right way, but correct me if I'm wrong. And it really is an honor to have this man on the show today. He's achieved incredible things in strongman in terms of his professional achievements, but also in terms of the things that this man has overcome in his life to get where he is today as well. And we have a very important message to talk about in terms of giving back, because Ilya is very keen to give back, contribute, and inspire people through strongman events and through his life in general. So we have some amazing things to talk about. A very, very humble individual despite his achievements as well. I have to put that over there because that stayed with me first time we met. Um, anyway, it's great to have you on the show. It's weird talking about people in third person, but I have to do that for the context. Great to have you on the show, and thank you for making time for this today, my friend. I appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you, Liam, for having me on the interview on the show. I'm always happy to share my stories, to share my inspiration. Hopefully, someone else picks up on it. I mean, that's how I started on it. I'm sure we'll cover it, but I've seen some people do this. Somebody got me into this, and here I am.
Absolutely, and you're in a way giving back and inspiring them. I love that. So, and we will talk about that because, as we were saying before we started recording, that was something that really stayed with me from the event that you invited me to recently, SCL Cyprus, amazing event, and as I said, amazing family atmosphere. So we will touch on that as well very soon. But before we do, going back to the beginning, going back to those early years, because you said to me at that event that the fact that some of those children were seeing the strong men up close and they were part of that atmosphere, you hoped that that would inspire them. And at that time, you mentioned how you were once inspired by seeing these superhuman individuals. I would say, certainly from a mere mortal like myself, what you guys lifted is incredible. And you saw that on TV. So can we go back there a little bit and talk about what initially lit the fire inside you to want to do this in the beginning, please?
Sure, I would love to. Um, I mean, okay, as through my childhood, I was always a taller, stronger, larger kid, and uh, I had no particular, um, let's say, no particular dream about being the strongest or the fastest and so on until I really got involved into sports, into martial arts. I even played some rugby, some volleyball in my younger years. And doing all that and seeing how people enjoyed me being the larger team member, um, and seeing also some sports like, okay, growing up, once I started these sports, I realized being bigger and stronger is really exciting, of course. It opens more possibilities in the sports. And then I somehow saw, of course, I saw the wrestling, the WWE style wrestling. That was really cool to watch as a kid. And then going from there, finally, I think around 12, 14 years old, I must have seen a World's Strongest Man show on TV. That was very impressive, seeing these massive guys flip a car, and one of them was carrying a fridge, and they were having these races. I was amazed by that is possible, but I never got to see more of it because, let's say, Cyprus was a little isolated to these kind of sports, and if you caught it on TV, it was from some foreign shows or TV channels. So I never followed up on it. I wish I did a little bit. I wish I started it earlier, but still, the path that led me here makes me feel like I'm where I belong. So having that experience as a child, knowing that, giants exist, and everyone always commented on how big I am or how strong I am. Once I got introduced to the sport, I completely fell in love with it.
Amazing. And again, it shows the power, doesn't it? It shows the power of media from a certain perspective to influence people positively or not. And it shows how athletes conduct themselves, the responsibility they have to inspire people as well in an indirect way. So was it straight away in those sort of teenage years that you started actually training and thinking, okay, can I lift this? Can I lift that? Or were you focused on some of those other sports? The size on you must be quite fierce as a rugby player. The rugby obviously massive, where I come from, it's like the
Yeah.
national sport pretty much. So, but anyway, so it's good for those guys in a way that you switched to strongman. But was it like straight away, okay, I'm going straight to a gym and I'm doing that, or was it sort of a little bit later, maybe in your 20s, just to get a feel for the timeline of that inspiration and then how soon you actually jumped into it, if that makes sense?
Yeah, let's say as a kid, it was surprising to me that I was already stronger with, so it's a mixed bag. I always did martial arts since I was a very small kid. Um, I started before I was 10. Um, and then I played a lot of tennis. I played other sports. I always tried out anything other than soccer because that's the one sport that never worked out well for me. Or I ended up being the goalie at school. Uh, I've tried training at the gym, but it was a difficult perspective because they'd have us do a weight with all the other kids in my group or so on. And it always seemed too easy for me and it didn't make sense. So I never focused on this. I never pursued it. I wish I had a little more guidance from my PE teachers at the time, a little more nurturing from them, saying that, hey, you know what, you don't have to play soccer. There's other sports that you could do. And yet every week it was just soccer at school. So um, a little bit more guidance from these people that are supposed to nurture different sports in you would have been amazing. I That's something I'd love other kids to experience, to try their hand at. I have a lot of other families, parents, or people we train with that they keep wondering they should have their kid try powerlifting. And there's a lot of myths and scare stories about how if kids lift any weight, it'll stunt their growth or stop any of that. And it's thankfully been disproven by medicine multiple times over. And in fact, it leads them to having a healthier lifestyle generally down the line. So encouraging kids to try out a sport that might be niche to some people or that their family has never even tried. It's some part of the dream that I think I can achieve, even if I inspire a handful of people to do that. So yeah, as I progress through these sports, um, I was getting ready for the army. So I started hitting the gym just out of my own interest, and I realized how strong I can get through it. Um, and after the army, unfortunately, I got distracted with a lot of work, a lot of traveling. I dropped most of my sports for a number of years until about my mid 20s, where I decided, okay, that was enough. I need to get back to what I love doing. So I spent almost 5 or so years not training at all and realized how much I missed it and how much I needed it. So yeah, that's when I go back to the gym, and my only focus was just to get fit and healthy again. I never knew this is the path that will take me here.
It's incredible. On a few counts, I mean, first of all, you said there about the different sports and everything. I love that because embracing diversity, and people trying different things to see what suits them. And the thing about sports as well, regardless of whether people compete professionally or not, I think being involved in that sort of thing as a kid, it really helps your confidence, really helps the discipline, really helps various other areas of people's lives that they can then carry forward. So that's a powerful message. But I also like what you said there about the army and coming back out because it shows people that the journey to success is not a straight line. You know, I mean, it is something that often has quite a few turns and everything. So, how long were you in the army? Were you in there that 5 years, was it, or
No,
longer?
it's usually the full 2 years. I was meant to do the full 2 years, but I managed to get out earlier.
Okay. So, getting back into strongman. So, you had this something inspired you. Okay, I have to get back and do this. How was it getting back into training? Because I read somewhere that you started training and you were sick for quite a while in the bushes or something. It was in the article, I think, on the Cyprus Mail. That it
That's
wasn't
right.
necessarily a super easy transition, but yeah, what was it like getting back into the gym in those early days after that time away?
Um, so I guess that's a two-parter. When I first started training, I was just going to a regular gym. Actually, with my best friend Andre, we kind of decided that we'll try to get fit and strong together. We found a group training, a HIT type of system training, and we really loved that. I think we did about 2 years of that, and it really did a lot of progress. I really started finally learning about training and how exactly it works, the science behind training, the science behind the nutrition that's involved with training, how diets work. All of this was previously guesswork to me, or whatever my coach said when I was younger, or whatever I heard from some guy that I thought was very knowledgeable about this. Um, so we did this training, and I'd say at the peak of what I thought then was my athleticism. I was at a very healthy weight, very active, training 4 or 5 times a week, even training above what the group. So we did the group training, then I trained by myself extra with heavier weights, and I was really enjoying that the chase of hitting a heavier weight at the gym, whether it's a deadlift, a squat, or the bench. Um, and then one training, I remember I came in and I was not feeling great at all. Um, I was struggling to breathe. I had a lot of pain in my chest and my back. I thought I had some nerve spasm, like a horrible cramp. I couldn't even complete that day's training. I left home early, and the pain got worse and worse. I thought it's the worst nerve pinch or something. Never experienced anything like that. And uh, silly me, I had an aversion to going to the doctor right away. Um, so finally, 2 or 3 days, 3 days, I think it was later, my parents forced me to go to the hospital. And I came in there and they said I had a massive pulmonary embolism. So it's a blood clot in the lung. Um, they run every single possible test on me. They could never find out the actual cause of it, um, especially given the healthy lifestyle at the time. It was anomalous. Um, but yeah, I spent a week at the hospital and I came out of the hospital, and for about 2 months, I could not walk up the stairs. I struggled to walk up the stairs, down the stairs. I struggled walking about the house, and going from that um, peak athletic condition, at least at the time, to all of a sudden struggling to walk. It hit me really hard, but it was not my first medical issue. I had some physical damages to my hands and so on previously, where the doctors would tell me I would never be able to lift something again. And I proved them wrong even then. And so again, the doctors told me you'll never ever be able to train heavy again. You'll never be able to lift heavy again. And to me, that was devastating to hear, especially like being as a kid that saw these amazing, strong people and thinking that, hey, maybe I have the potential to be the strongest kid. And maybe even wish that I could be the strongest kid, when you make those well wishes on a passing comet. um, uh, so I spent about the month or two forcing myself to walk. I would not accept that. I said, this is no way that the doctors are right. Cannot be right. So I forced myself to walk every single day. The first day I remember was just about a week or two, about 2 weeks. Since I got out of the hospital, I tried walking outside with the dog and my father. And I was sitting on the sidewalk about half a minute in, almost coughing up blood and choking on my lungs just because I was in no shape whatsoever. And I forced myself the next day and the next day and the next day. And every day I got a little bit further. And that's all I wanted. I just wanted to get a little bit further. Within a month, I was able to jog through the same route that I set myself for walking. I was starting to be able to jog through it. And then I started walking further and further. And about 2 to 3 months in, I was finally back at a shape where I thought, all right, I could start the gym again. So I did. It was exhilarating and refreshing being able to touch weights again. Over that 2 to 3 month period, I really missed it. That's all my goal was to get healthy enough so that I could get back to the gym and be able to lift my weights again, whatever it took, however I could do it. So I did, and luckily enough on that training, it so happened that the same gym, there was a guy that came in, and as you mentioned, the social aspect in Cyprus, and generally in the sport, we're very social with each other. There is no stigma about approaching each other, talking about it, about the sport, about what you do, helping each other out. He saw me training. He's like, "Hey, do you know this American strongman living here in Cyprus?" And previously, I've only heard mention from him about him. Someone told me about him. I was told he's really good. I even sent him a message, and he said, "Yeah, sure, come on down, train with me." And you never expect that someone fully means it when they say, "Yeah, come on over, come train with me." Um, until I realized I missed out on that. Uh, so yeah, this friend said, "No, come on down." He truly means it. He trains every Sunday at his gym in Episcopi here. I was like, "All right, sure, why not? I'm in no physical shape or place to do anything heavy, but I'll come on down with you." And that was that Sunday that set this whole path that I'm on. We showed up at his gym in the village. And for the first time ever, I actually saw strongman equipment. I saw Atlas stones up close. I saw farmer handles. I saw all the deadlift bars that he had, the squat bars that he had. More equipment in that tiny room that I've seen in professional gyms. And right away, I fell in love with it. I wanted to try everything he had. I wanted to carry this, carry that, and I did. I think, for how I remember it, he was not wary, but I mean, I told him my story, and he has his own stories to tell. And I think he had not a little bit of a worry, but he was very excited to see, someone try to get back from something. So he was very accommodating to help me out, try this out, try the yoke out. And that first day, I tried out so many things and trained so hard that all I remember is I was throwing up for about 20 minutes in the bushes. And I completely fell in love with the sport. I wanted to try more. I was like, "Can I come next Sunday, try out more things?" He said, "Definitely come on over." And ever since, whenever I'm in Cyprus, every single Sunday, I'm over there training with him. I don't think we've missed more than a handful of trainings due to holidays or something like that.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, there's so many things you said there, and I'm resisting the temptation to go off on different tangents with it, to keep the line of reasoning. But One of the things that does strike me, and I think this is very valuable to mention to people, for people to hear about, with the embolism thing, first of all, by the way, thank you for sharing that because I know it's probably not the easiest thing to sort of go back and remember and think about. But at the same time as that, when people told you these things are not possible, and again, when I was reading up on this, I read this thing where you cut your hand on glass and things like that. I guess it must have been like to the bone or quite a bad cut. And
Indeed.
people said you can't lift this and you can't do that. Basically, what I'm asking, the way you reject that and the way you keep the belief inside yourself of actually I can do this, I think it's very valuable for people to hear how you do that, whether they are aspiring strong men or women, that's fantastic. But in any goal that you aim for, there's always going to be that. There's always going to be people saying, no, that's not for you, and don't do this and whatever. And obviously, pushing through that is sort of an essential ingredient, I would say, in doing anything that you want to do. So, long and short of it is how you personally did that, how you personally didn't buy into what they were saying, and you kept the belief in your mind that actually I can do this, and what your process was for that, please.
Definitely. I've even up to now, I've had enough experiences where doctors would say something's impossible. And I think just hearing that something is impossible is already an exciting challenge. Well, why do you think it's impossible? Have you truly had no one with an alternative experience? And then, especially with sports, in my time being surrounded by other athletes and their stories, and how when you look at most, well, not most, let's say a lot of top athletes, and you see the hardships that they have gone through, and despite all of that, they are there. Hardships way harder than I've ever gone through, and they're still doing as amazing as they are. There can be no possible excuse why you can't at least try. Just try. That's all it takes. And even with the embolism, yes, I had the goal that I want to be back healthy. And of course, I wished I could be the strongest, but that was never the tomorrow step. My tomorrow was I need to do a little better than I did today. And the next day is going to be a little bit better than. You got to approach it with tiny little nibbles, nibbles that you can chew through easily, and celebrate every time that you do them. Because if you only focus on those big achievements, winning competition or something, you're not going to get there. You'll burn yourself out. Some people can. Most people will burn out just being daunted by that task alone. Um, so being able to take smaller bites at it and realizing that, okay, what can I do this week to make me better for next week? And what can I do today to make me better for tomorrow's training session? What can I do this month to make me better for the next month and the next year and so on? And having that breakdown and approach of setting smaller tasks for yourself, tasks that you can easily achieve on a daily basis, um, you'll be surprised how fast it catches up to you and you're way further than you ever planned. Because the worst thing you can do for yourself is decide that, no, it's too hard and I don't want to try. Whereas all that it can take is just a little step forward, a little bit more, and push yourself to a reasonable, safe, healthy limit for most people. I don't know if I've always kept to that. I try to, especially my wife encourages me to. But still, taking even that little bit of a little step forward every time is the key factor here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's very much the aspect of the process, isn't it? Enjoying the process, getting I mean, some people say, get 1% better at a time or whatever it is, but you do hear about these type of things, and yeah, man, breaking the goal down into nipples, I like that, into bite-sized chunks is a very good way of looking at it. So coming back from all of this stuff in terms of the embolism, in terms of your hand, in terms of all these things, and then at the point you had started having success as a strong man, and it started to actually go from this what you're saying of okay, I'm taking this a day at a time, and how far can I go? just to be healthy, just to, I mean, from what you're saying there, just to walk up the street and do things that people take for granted in a lot of ways, was obviously your first goal. I want to be back there. At what point did that shift in terms of your mindset and say, okay, actually, I can take this as far as I always dreamed of? That makes sense. And, because when I speak to people about this, a lot of athletes, they go through this process of thinking, okay, this is fun, I enjoy this, and actually I'm not bad at it either. And then it starts to shift from that to, okay, actually I can do something with this. And there's that little switch. And it sort of jumped out at me from what you were saying, that obviously the initial thing being getting back healthy, then doing the strongman training, leveling it to bits. But then obviously shifting from that to thinking, okay, I can have some success. So in terms of those early-ish days of actually competing as a strongman, what was going on in your life, what your mindset was like at that time. It's not a really narrow question, but just broadly that time of your life.
So I need to thank my friend and training partner Clint Darden, the American coach here living in Cyprus. He's always given me the right perspective and attitude towards this. As I said, when I first started training with him, near on 8 years now, from a month into the training, we heard about a local competition being held by a gym, and it was one of the few and only times the strongman competition is being held in Cyprus. And he said, you should sign up for it. I was like, there's no way. I'm in no medical condition or state of strength or anything to do it. And he's like, no, just sign up and have fun. It doesn't matter. I was like, but what if I don't do well? And that's when it really struck me. He's like, it doesn't matter. You're gonna have fun doing it. I was like, yeah, so do it. Like, it doesn't matter how you place. Next time you can aim for better. And that's when it really started, clicking together. I had that first competition 3 months after my return to the gym. So let's say it was less than 6 months after my embolism. And of course, I did terribly. I did amazingly for the state that I was in. I did terribly in the competition itself. But it was a blessing. I was hooked on it right from the get-go. I was like, all right, what's the next one we can do? He's like, well, what events do you have fun doing? And we'll look at a competition. And I found, then over the years, I found a few in England. I had another one in Cyprus. A few around Europe, where we would look at it and decide, yeah, this looks like fun. It has a good selection of events. It's a fun location. I'll do it. And I'd have anywhere between 2 to 4 months, 5 months to prepare for it. Take those little small steps and see how good I can get for it. And every time I'd do better and better. Like, I skipped the whole amateur part of it. Okay, I was still competing in the amateur divisions, but let's say I skipped the novice part of it, where I jumped straight into, and that was Clint's recommendation again, because I was debating, should I go with the inter division where you have a little bit of experienced people and not experienced people, or should I go for the open weight or so on? And the idea was that why not just compete against the strongest guys that you can, and see how you do. You're more likely to learn something. And he gets this amazing mentality from, he was an amazing, still is, I guess. I'm afraid to spar with him. He was a karate champion. He won multiple championships in the US. If I remember right, he's a national level champion. So he was extremely good in his time, but he always told me stories about how he just went up against the strongest guys, and you never know. One mistake from them and you get to win, or at least you get to learn something from the process. So that's how we approached it, that every time I just picked the hardest division or the hardest setting that I could go for, and see how well. It didn't matter if I placed anywhere well. What mattered is how well could I do in this competition? Could I move that weight? How hard could I push myself? How many reps, or what's the biggest weight that I could move at it? That really helped, not focusing on the placement specifically, but focusing on my best ability in this competition. So yeah, over the number of years, I kept just picking the harder and the harder competition, getting invited to them. I met a ton of really good people, um, amazing athletes, amazing people, organizers. Just being able to expand this group of friends and people that you can talk to and ask for advice and ask for opinions and hear their stories, how they got into the sport. And like, as I'm saying, um, knowing some of the hardships that some of these people have went through and are still there and are still doing incredibly well, it makes you think you have no excuse. As as anyone that's reasonably healthy, you have no excuse not to try. At least do that for yourself. Just give it a try. You might love it. You might figure out that that's not what you want, but you won't know until you give it a try. Um, so yeah, that eventually got me to this professional level where, as of last year, I was being invited to the Strongman Champions League competitions as a professional athlete, fully paid, representing Cyprus as my country. Um, and it is a very exhilarating feeling, holding a title like the world's strongest of something, the strongest of Cyprus, especially having grown up here, or being able to compete against other guys that are the strongest of their countries. Um, and it makes me want to do better than I did every other competition. Um, that's it. That's how it is.
Incredible. Well, again, I mean, there's some wonderful life lessons in there. That what you said about trying, I mean, because in the end, we only regret the things we didn't try or we didn't. I mean,
Exactly.
if you even if you try it and it didn't go well, you've tried it, you've learned from it. It can help you in another way. But if you don't take that leap, you're always thinking, oh, how could I have done with that? So that's a big one. But I also liked what you say, like what you're saying about almost competing with yourself in a way, in terms of seeing how well you could do in that competition and not worrying about the other people in the earlier stages. It's very valuable. So in terms of the level you're at now, being, the strongest man in Cyprus, being at such a high level, reaching those dizzy heights, when you actually get there, it's one thing to watch the event or to see you doing really well, but in terms of what goes through your mind in a moment like that, in terms of I've reached that level, and I know you always want to continue to grow and develop, and we'll talk about the future as well. But I've asked people this, and some people say they can't put it into words, even what it's like in that moment. Some people can describe it, but in terms of the fact that you're fulfilling your potential, basically, if you get where I'm going with this, and what that experience is like inside you, what goes through your head, can you describe that for me, please?
Um, I can. Um, and this is where having a strong group of people, finding someone that supports you fully, and sees your vision and helps you clearly see it. Um, Between my family and friends, of course, but most especially Clint, and my wife Lily, they have they've helped me see things that I didn't know I wanted or didn't know about myself. Um, Even recently, she reminded me, helped me, let's say, she helped me figure out why I'm doing this, why I want to do this all. And it just goes back to, being that kid and thinking, hey, that's cool. I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if I could be the strongest. Like, I want to be the strongest. And just getting hit by that feeling again, um, it makes any kind of pain and struggle, worth it. Living up to that potential and dream you had as a kid. Um, so yeah.
Amazing. I mean, it's an amazing insight, isn't it, into something that, well, it's sort of an intangible thing, but at the same time, putting that into words is powerful. Representing your country as well, representing Cyprus to the world. I'd like to go a little bit deeper into what that means to you
Yeah.
personally. Yeah.
Um, any particular view that
Well, just in terms of how you feel, in terms of the fact that, think about it this way. We spoke earlier about the inspirational aspect. Obviously, that's a big part of what I do. So maybe you're inspiring other people in Cyprus to chase their dreams in one way or another. But at the same time, I mean, you've spoken about the fact that you're basically Cypriot at heart and it's your home, even though obviously there's the different heritage there and everything, but the Cyprus is your home. And I just want to get a feel about basically representing the country to the world in some ways, putting Cyprus more on the map. I know it's on the map
mhm.
in a lot of ways anyway. So I mean this in a respectful way to the country because it's on the map for a lot of things. But maybe if you're out there competing, you're putting the country on the map in ways that it's not used to being and diversifying that. So there's a few different aspects it could go. But yeah, just what it means to you because it's a very privileged position to be called upon basically to be the one to represent your country. And it was the same, when I was at the event the other day that you invited me to and they were calling out, strongest man from Estonia and strongest man from Hungary and this and that and these different places. And I was thinking, wow, that to be the one called on to represent those people, if you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And I'd like to delve a little bit deeper into your experiences of that process, basically, please.
Definitely. On the surface level, um, you're obviously proud to represent the country that you grew up in, that uh, people know you in, and showing everyone that uh, you have people like this in your country and that you're one of these people. Um, but also at the same time, a little deeper, it's great. It's great to be also recognized for the amount of work that gets put into this. I'll never complain about the amount of effort or work I have had to put in and do um, just to be where I am. Um, and for people to realize that it's a two-way, you know, street of being proud, having people being proud for me and being proud to represent my country. Um, it's an exhilarating feeling. And then going back to what we discussed through about showing uh, the kids and other people that this is possible, that there are things that you can do. Uh, Cyprus, okay, I'll step back a bit. Cyprus is definitely on the map. There are amazing athletes from Cyprus, whether it's in bodybuilding, in powerlifting. There are some really incredible people that have some really amazing potential. In tennis, also in sailing. Um, there's a lot of sports. It is a very sport cultured island. But some sports they're not familiar with that well, like strongman. Um, I'm sure quite a few others. And it's amazing to be able to be the person that is representing this sport on the island, um, helping people see it and get familiar with it, and realizing that it's not just something on TV that you might have seen as a kid, but it's here. You can see it. You can reach out your hand. You can talk to them. You can ask them about it. And maybe it's something that you'll be interested in, whether following or even participating yourself. Um, and a lot of people get daunted. They see us giants, and they're like, "But I'm not as big as you. I can't do that, or I can't lift this." And I mean, it's both nice and funny to hear it because I know a lot of amazing people that are not even half my size and are probably just as strong. Um, Even my wife, in comparison, she's less than half my weight, and She squats 320 kilograms, deadlifts 220 about, just over, benches just over 150 kilos. So pound for pound, kilo for kilo, she's way stronger than me. And people need to realize this, that you don't have to be a giant to enjoy something. Especially nowadays, Strongman, especially the official Strongman Games Corporation, has been doing amazing strides into allowing any type of person to try their hand at this. They have multiple categories, lightweights, middleweights, heavyweights. They have the opens. They've introduced different masters classes for anyone over 40, anyone over 50. So it's a very inviting sport. And the one thing that most people will always comment on and be surprised about, especially on their first competition, because they'll see other sports with big, strong people, like wrestling or boxing, and they assume that everyone's big and angry or something. But once you actually get to talk to the athletes, if you forgot your shoes, or like a lot of us when traveling, we'll bring all our equipment with us, and sometimes it gets lost, sometimes you forget it, obviously. Other times it breaks in the process. I have no issue to give my belt, my shoes, my knee wraps, anything I have, to the guy that I'm competing with and against, if it means he gets a fair chance and a fair shot at this. And I know many other guys would do the absolute same for me without question, even if it's the first time I've ever met them at this competition. And that's the incredible part about the sport, that it's a very strong community of people that just found something that they love doing. And they want to do it together. They want to show it off to other people. They want to introduce many other people to it. And it is a very accessible sport.
Absolutely, absolutely it is. Well, it's a wonderful insight there. First of all, what you were saying about Cyprus and everything, I love that, because that's where I was going with it. Is, yeah, I mean, you can go to any country, anywhere, and you can meet people from Cyprus. You can talk about Cyprus. And yet the sporting caliber here is second to none. But I love also what you're doing, in a sense where you're sort of pioneering some aspects of strongman from a certain perspective. And I know there's people like Clinton, there's other people who've been doing this. So it's not just you, it's a team thing, but that growth of the sport is wonderful. That's a really good topic. I mean, we need to talk about some of your future plans as well, because first of all, with this, there's your personal goals and some of the things you would like to achieve. But there's also the other side to it, which goes back into what I was saying with the pioneering and putting some of these events on, like the event you invited me to recently, the caliber of the competition there, the interest from the crowd, the interest from the Cypriot government and the mayor and everything was all a wonderful. So I'd imagine there's obviously more you'd like to do with the event side of it and giving back, and there's more you'd like to achieve personally. So if you get what I mean, I can see sort
Yeah.
of two sides to where this can go. But broadly speaking, in terms of the future, and with this, I don't mind how far ahead in time you want to go. I mean, even if it's like just next year, or if you have plans for years from now. I mean, it's entirely up to you. But just to get a feel for what's inspiring you from this point forward, please.
Yeah. So this year, let's say I stepped back a little bit from competing, unfortunately, due to an injury. Last year in the summer, I attempted setting a world record in Norway, moving a 194 kilo stone, natural shaped stone, in a very unnatural type of shape for lifting. I was the first person to ever break it off the ground and actually be able to take some steps with it. I didn't do as well as I thought. I tore my bicep on it, despite it seeming to go well, but it was just on the tail of completing a competition in Norway. So I should have given my body some more time to rest. So this year was some traveling and following my wife in her competitions. I didn't have the opportunity to compete, but I did have the opportunity to host this competition. And I gladly jumped onto it. I had some experience hosting non-sports events previously. So I felt it would be an interesting new challenge to see if I could host a sports event, specifically the Strongman Champions League Cyprus stage. And it, even if I say so myself, although I've been getting a lot of great feedback that the event went smashingly well. Um, the athletes loved it, the other organizers loved it, the authorities loved it, but most importantly, the people loved it. The audience did. I had a ton of kids come up and flex at me or want to take pictures. I seen them do this with all the other athletes around there. The crowd loved cheering on for the athletes for every success or miss that they had. They were invested, and that was incredible to see how bringing a sport that no one has seen on this level in Cyprus, it's perhaps maybe even the first time they've even ever seen the sport, and yet seeing them so emotionally invested in this, it was very exciting on a different scale from being able to compete also, knowing that I can affect so many people with this. So that we already have discussions with the authorities. The mayor has given his full support on assisting us with the next year. If everything works out, the plan is to have it as an annual stage in Cyprus every single year, um, bigger and better. Um, Especially seeing how the families loved participating and being at the event. I want to make sure our focus is also um, on them and more encouraging to them. So we have some big plans on that that I can't wait for people to see. Gonna keep some of it secret for now. And yeah, that would be my hosting plans. Let's say on hosting events, perhaps also try make an amateur division. Let's say we'll have all the similar events, but at a lighter capacity, and being able to invite both local and other foreign athletes that want to compete at it and try their hand at the same setup with the same audience, and being able to invite all their friends and see how they can do. Hopefully that will grow the sport a lot more in Cyprus, and people could involve themselves with it. As far as the personal level, I'm burning with a desire to get back into competing. I really want to. I've already been invited to a very exciting competition in February, part of also the Strongman Champions League. It's called the Iceman Challenge, where it will be happening in Lapland, north part of Finland, in minus 30 Celsius degrees. So the competitors often wear ice spikes on their shoes, and it all happens outdoors in the snow and ice, and whatever weather is going on, that's the weather you compete in. So it's very cinematic. It's very different. It's challenging, and I'm burning with desire to be there. I've always also been invited. Well, not fully invited. I've been discussing with the potential of setting Guinness World Record in the next year. So I'm starting to prepare myself and train for that. I think it's going to look quite exciting, a little bit different from what anyone has done yet. So that would be great. And then, of course, I definitely have my eyes set on competing at the world's strongest man. Potentially the biggest stage any strongman athlete can hope to compete on, where there'll be 30 of the strongest guys in the world, all fighting for the chance to be on the podium and have the title of the world's strongest man. So that is definitely a goal and target that I have set, bringing myself and the Cyprus flag to that competition.
Absolutely amazing. Well, what I'll say about that, my friend, is at that point in time, we'll do this again and we will update people on everything that's happened since then, because I do really get that feeling with yourself that even though you've achieved so much, there's some amazing things yet to come. There's some amazing things on the horizon, and I can see the fire. Well, I can more than see. I can feel the fire still burning inside you. I can feel that passion, and it's very, very good. So, last couple of bits and pieces, and we'll wrap this up pretty much. Obviously, a really easy one is people getting in contact with you on social media in general to follow you, but also if they want to maybe ask any questions about training or any of that type of thing, because I know you're very approachable as a person. Hence, I contacted you and you kindly invited me to that event. So, in terms of how people can reach you, basically, simple question, but how can they get a hold of you if they want to?
Generally, the easiest is on Instagram, Ilya Khazov strongman. On Facebook, if you find me, I am more active to replying on Instagram as soon as I can, usually. If anyone has any questions about training, about the sport, any advice, um, I'm no doctor, but I can gladly share my experiences with recovering from the injuries. And sometimes all it takes for some people is to know that someone else has done it, that you're not the only one going through this. Perhaps just hearing that or getting an advice on that, I'm more than happy to help people out when they ask for that kind of viewpoint. Um, Again, if you see me during training, I'm always friendly. You can always approach, even if I'm lifting some weights and I look angry at it. That's only me being angry at the weights and them being not heavy enough. Otherwise, I'm extremely approachable. Anyone can ask me any kind of questions at any time. I'll happily make the time for them. Um, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, brilliant. So that's that one out there. And before we wrap this up as well, throughout this talk, we've also mentioned people who've helped you along the way with your journey. So obviously we've mentioned Clint, we've mentioned your wife at one point, different people. And is there anyone else who you would like to thank, or is there anything else you would like to say to those people that we've already mentioned? My reason for this is that who you surround yourself with in life in general is a very, very important thing. And they do say that people become the sum total of the people with whom they spend the most time, the five people I think it is they spend the most time with. And it's definitely a true lesson. So on this point of view, as I say, anyone else you'd like to thank or anything else you'd like to say about that topic, please?
Definitely. You're right that, I wouldn't be who I am without my wife. She's We talk about our trainings every single day. We exchange everything about that. We bounce ideas of each other. We perfect our thoughts or try out different things. So I couldn't have been here without her. Clint Darnan, of course, that's both even introduced me to the sport and to my wife. So wouldn't be here without him. I owe it to him in so many more ways than he knows, and I keep telling him as much. And then, of course, everyone that's been supportive of me on my journey, my family, my brother, all the other amazing strongmen, all the organizers that somehow see the potential in me and want to encourage it. There's a lot of people um, I could list, but I'd like to thank all of them for being there for me, for believing in me, even for this competition that I was hosting here. And for my previous ones, my brother does his best to always come out and help in every way that he can. I am beyond grateful for that. Um, I have some friends in UK that we met because they were here in Cyprus for holidays, and he had a competition coming up. He trained with us at Clint's, and since then we've been friends. I've been staying over there whenever I'm in England. They've been staying with us when they're here in Cyprus. They came out on a whim to this competition to just help me out with it. Um, all these people that make it an incredible life experience and journey. It's not just a sport. It's not just a type of lifestyle. It is a life experience. A big thank you to all of them, and especially thank you to people like you that help us spread the message, help us put it out there, that have such an interest also um, in showing off what we can do all together.
Absolutely. Well, you're very welcome. I mean, as I said before, thank you for the invite to the event recently. Thank you for your time today as well, with getting this message out there. It really is a pleasure. And we've shared some good things. I mean, really, with my expectations, I was hoping for fun stories from your competition, some life lessons and some inspiration, those two sides. And we've ticked those boxes and then some. And I know with someone who's accomplished as much as you have, there's so many other things. I mean, there's the IT work that you do and being a black belt in Taekwondo and God help anyone who gets kicked by someone your size, but there we are. And there's these little things with not fitting through alleyways, and I mean there was loads of things that I was reading. When you go to apparently historical villages with your wife and things. But there's a lot more stuff. But I'm happy with the topics that we have touched on, because that's what gives people the value, and that's what gives people the things that they can use really. Whether it's in strength sports or whether it's in something else altogether. Some of the lessons are universal in their application. They're very, very solid principles for life and for being a happy, fulfilled person in life, basically, which is the most important thing beyond any career successes and sports successes, is being, the best version of yourself. So very, very grateful for this. I will release this very soon. I'll send it to you as well. Would you mind resharing it when it goes out there? When I release this interview, is that just on your social media?
Please do, yes, and I will definitely share it. Well, I'm sure my friends will share it too. So thank you for the opportunity, and as I said, thank you for sharing the message.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.